Today we got a special amplifier in front of us, the Wu Audio WA33 second gen. And I own the original one, the WA33. I've had it for years. The original one came about around 2017, so it's been out for quite some time. And they made some updates to it. It looks similar. The front panel's a little different, all that, but let's cover this. Let's go over what's changed in this thing. And it's a great tube headphone amplifier, and I've been enjoying it for years. And so we had to listen to this a little while ago, and we got our subjective take on it. But you want to cover what's changed technically speaking on this bad boy?
Well, I think the most obvious thing when you're glancing at it is the output's changed. So now you have a 4-pin XLR, a Pentacon output, 6.35 millimeter, and a true ribbon output. So you could drive ribbon drivers directly without a transformer.
Yeah, as far as I know, the Rawl's the only company that's making a ribbon style headphone. It's some stupid low impedance, like
less than an ohm, yeah.
Yeah, less than a tenth of an ohm.
And
it's
you
like
you traditionally need a transformer box.
Yeah.
So it's novel. You could plug it in directly.
It's built in.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
So I think that's its like headlining new feature, I'd say.
So really what this does is it gives the WA33 the ability to run all other headphones, dynamic, planar, and ribbon, which is kind of neat. It's basically the Swiss Army knife of desktop amplifiers.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I liked is that adding the 4.4 in there was very nice. Because then I could have a 1266 plugged in, and then my Diana in 4.4.
Yeah, that's true.
Which before I'd be like, oh, I don't have a 1/4-inch cable.
The only thing you gotta do is you gotta wash that if you don't have a low efficiency planar. If you plug in like a high efficiency headphone or that, and you run a low efficiency headphone like a 4.4, smoke may ensue from the smaller headphone.
Well, I wasn't worried about it in this case.
But we can cover that later. So feature sets on there. So what else we got in here? They also updated the output transform in this, right?
Supposedly it's a little bit lower output impedance. So that helps out to drive, especially your more demanding headphones, helps give the amplifier more control over the driver. Usually you notice it most in the bass.
Especially on planars. Like our planars in particular, love a lower impedance amp. The better. And I believe they told us this is under an ohm out for a tube amp that's pretty low. So yeah, and subjectively we'll talk about it. It helped a lot compared to the original or the OG version of this amp. What else we got on this? Oh, they did remove a feature.
Yeah, no longer has a preamp.
Preamp out, yeah.
Right.
So you can't use this as a
Can't use a preamp.
In a 2-channel system. So, oh well.
So it's moving more towards just a headphone amp, right?
Yeah, right.
Only headphones.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is it's more legible with the new accent plate.
Yeah.
To see what the inputs are.
Yeah.
The all black, like on the top.
It's very stylish, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a little thing, but it's welcome.
It's kind of a hint of the look of their newer models, which this is. The WA23 to WA24 has got a lot of gold and black. And so it's nice that they put those touches on the front of this Gen 2 33. And they also actually give us a power spec on this, which is new for Wu. I mean, this amp is and has always been their most powerful amp, and it drives anything. It drives their 1266 extremely well. In fact, it was originally designed with the 1266 back in when the first version came out in 2017. The bottom line is that it's really a fully encompassing desktop amp for even IEMs. We tried it here with a 105 dB efficient IEM. And
it doesn't look like it would be good for that.
Yeah, and we normally wouldn't recommend a big amp like this for IM. Normally, you want lower power, but it sounds fine. It's not noisy. It has a high-low gain setter switch on the front, and on the low gain setting,
make sure you definitely put it in low.
It's pretty accommodating, and it gives you some range of volume. I mean, you're not gonna have a lot with 105 dB and up sensitivity, so we would recommend probably a different amp than a big amp. For an IM, but it will do it. And it's, again, not a problem. So it's pretty cool that you can drive just about anything that I'm aware of with this amp. The one thing that they didn't change on this amp that I found out is the amount of heat it produces.
Oh, yes. It definitely gets hot.
It gets just as hot as the original 33, and it makes sense if it's a 10-watt tube amp times 2 channels, right? So so don't expect this thing to run cooler. If you need coolness, the WA23, their other newer models, 23 and 24, do run significantly.
Yes,
cooler.
I was actually, because I haven't used a 33 in a long time since you have it at home.
Yeah.
And I forgot how warm it gets.
After a few hours, it gets toasty. And we had it on all day, so it was like, oof, it's like, it's about 110, 120 degrees. I don't know exact
warm.
temperature, but it's toasty. So.
And I assume these are the stock bass tubes it comes with, which are different than the old one. They're 2A3C, so they're in a different like 300B style glass instead of the skinnier old 2A3s.
Yeah, the stock tubes are different. I mean, and over the years, really the whole tube thing, worldwide supply chain has shifted around, and things are less available than they used to be. They're more available, this and that. Price points changed, things got discontinued. So that kind of, with tube amps, you kind of see that a lot.
I guess so.
The stock tube complement's always going to be what the hell's currently available.
What can you get?
Yeah, more than 10 of them.
Especially with NOS tubes, which these are not. But
yeah. So, and we should mention too that we do have our own version of this amp called the JPS Abyss Edition, and it adds the internal wiring's is done up with all our aluminum conductors through the signal chain in and out, and we change up the tube complement. So we go with a different all the tubes change on our version, and it's more attuned toward specifically the 1266 sound, and it's an upgraded tube set, and that's available on our website too. We specifically sell that version to go with the 1266. So people who are into our stuff are into this amp.
One thing to note is this no longer has a preamp output. So if you were expecting to use it for that, one change from this model.
Yeah, if you have the original 33 and you're shifting over to this, you're going to lose, and you're using a preamp, you're going to lose that function. So beware.
But it does supposedly have a new output transformer. And it's allegedly one of the things that helps it to drive the true ribbon output, but it also means lower output impedance, so it can help drive your more demanding headphones. And especially on things like our planar magnetic headphones, they tend to prefer lower output impedance. Usually you get a little bit better control over the driver, and oftentimes you'll notice it most in the bass.
Yeah, and especially with the 1266. In fact, we'll talk about when we go over subjectively, but that was quite noticeable with this amp. The difference between the original WA33 and this new second gen is pretty stunning in the bottom end.
And this particular amplifier actually happens to be available in 3 different versions. This is the standard edition. We happen to sell exclusively a JPS Labs Abyss edition, designed specifically to work well with our headphones. Kind of sort of fits in price point in between the standard and the Elite edition.
Yeah, it's primarily made for the AB 1266.
Yep. And the Elite edition has like all the bells, whistles, and tweaks and stuff like that. Jack would be the person to talk to about that. I believe he sells it exclusively.
Yeah, the Elite is like silver wire, some sort of internal wiring. I don't know what he switches to.
Yeah, it's
OFC, copper, transformers. There's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
It also doubles the price. Yeah. So it's a serious update. But there are some serious people that have no problem with that and currently own, we know a lot of them that own the Elite edition on the original. So yeah, it's something that people have no problem with if they want the king of the king of the king.
The king of the king. Yeah, so this is the second edition of the 33, which happens to tend to be one of the crowd pleasers at shows. Oftentimes, everyone seems to be thrilled with this at shows. Yeah. Personally, it's one of my favorite tube amplifiers and one of my favorite amplifiers. Great unit, so nice to see a little tweak on the second edition, and it updates one of the weaknesses with it. Now you have a 4.4 millimeter output.
Ooh.
Yeah,
no
fancy.
More adapters needed.
You can plug all your new headphones in directly.
Yeah. So me and Jason had a chance yesterday to spend some time with this bad boy, and so we could talk about subjectively what it sounds like. We tried it on the 1266. I tried it on Joel. I tried it on Diana DZ. Basically all our headphones.
Well, yeah.
So you want to get started on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's known as 1266 amp mainly. That's how everybody. And I never really liked it when it came out with the Diana TC. Really, it was always mainly 1266. But this now with the DZ, I actually had I prefer this with this amp now, with the DZ moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very, very impactful in the bass on a DZ. It's like almost like a really good solid state amp,
Mm-hmm.
but with the benefits of tubes as well.
Yeah, I think the sound shifted more toward their WA23, WA24s, the newer ones. I think primarily it's in the bass range, and like Eric said, because they changed the output transformer and we're under 1 ohm now for output impedance, it really made change the bass range on the planers and just gave it taut control.
Yeah.
And still has gobs of power, so you're not like you're losing it. So where before the bass might have seemed under certain tracks out of control a little bit on a planer, especially when you loose fit the 1266, where it's got like no damping to the drivers. The amp's totally in charge of the damping then, right? When you loose fit that headphone. And having a lower output impedance of under 1, where compared to probably was many ohms before, increases the damping factor and lets the amp take charge of it. So, it's a cleaner bottom end.
The biggest thing is you wanted to hear with the old pads because that's what you're used to with your amp. And I'm like, well, let's try the new pads then.
Right.
And it was completely different.
The new ear pads on the 1266.
1266.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's night and day.
It was like, wow. I don't even remember it being that big of a difference on any other amp than this one with the new pad swap.
Yeah.
But it was quite noticeable.
Yeah, between this amp and 2 different pads, it's like having 2 different 1266s.
Yes.
Completely changes the bottom end. And the openness factor, it's very different. It becomes more of a traditional planar headphone sound with the new pads.
Right.
You can also we say new pads, we have 2 versions of new pads. We have the classic fit, which is a shallower, kind of like the original pads, which allow you to get a looser fit, right? And then new standard ear pads are a bit thicker and plusher, so they create more of a seal with this headphone, which is a totally different sound than what most owners are used to. But yeah, like you said, the cool thing is on this amplifier, it's all obvious. And it's not like this thing's forward or anything in that, but it's definitely got, to me, it's a notch up in clarity level too versus the original 33.
Yep. And because we tried it on 2 different DACs and it was very noticeable, between the 2 DACs that sounded completely different, obviously, which is a sign of a good amp. Usually it's just letting you know what the rest of your chain sounds like, right?
Yeah, we had it on an R2R DAC and we had it on a standard chip-based DAC, and and they obviously can hear the difference between the amps. I preferred the R2R myself, but I'm used to that. How about you? Did you pick one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was R2R.
Yeah. So I think the DAC we're using was a Hall Audio Cyan too on this one. It's a great little DAC for the money.
And the other DAC was the Ferrum Wandala.
Oh, yeah.
So both were like
with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Well, it had the external power supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both were. I mean, they're both really good DACs for the money. This thing will step up for sure, though. This amp. If you went to, my go-to at home would be something from DCS or something like the Lena DAC. A lot of guys in this price range have some expensive DACs. You get into 15, 20 grand and up range, and this amp will step up with them. So there's no question that the resolution and clarity level will come with this. And I know for a fact that if you put more expensive driver tubes and output tubes in this thing, same deal. Everything just gets bigger.
Right.
Spatial information, so that's the cool thing of about a tube amp is it gets a little hot, but you can change it to adapt it to the way you like to listen to music, which is awesome.
And in particular with this one, now it actually, the WA23 is what I would normally go with for Diana or Joel, but now I think I prefer this.
Yeah, actually me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's now my new favorite.
Yeah, where they stepped up the other, and the 23 and the 24 are beautiful amps.
Yeah.
They're more low profile and, and they're extremely well made and they're beautiful, just beautiful looking amps. So, and those to me are fine. Like the W23 works okay with the 1266 as well, works fine with it. It has less power than this.
Yeah.
But this is ultimate power in a tube amp, desktop tube amp. It's just killer. So if you need that with your headphone collection.
Yeah, and you know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this bad boy covers it all. So nice job to Jack and the crew at Woo Audio. It's a beautiful upgrade. I think it makes sense. Everything they did on it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't eliminate the model, which tends to be happening a lot in the headphone world.
Yeah, I thought it would have been replaced totally by like the new amps and the new design language and all that, but nope.
Yeah,
it's here to stay.
Yeah, and I'm glad it is because it, it's a great desktop amp. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves.